This is a video tutorial to help you with homework number 2. Now remember, these are not the exact same questions that are on your homework assignment, but the concepts are the same, just with different numbers. You're to do your own questions on your own after you watch this video. Now I'm not going to solve every single question in every single section on this tutorial, but I will solve enough that should give you the proper steps to solve your questions on your own. So let's take a look here. Our directions say solve each equation and show all properties of equality used. So for question number 1, I locate my variable. On that side, I'll locate my constant, and I'll clear that one first by using a subtraction property of equality. And the reason I'm subtracting is because the question says to add. So the inverse of adding 6 is subtracting 6, and that gives us a 0 here, which I'm not going to write. I'm simply going to bring down the rest of the terms that are still here. So 3r comes down, the 6's cancel out, and 12 minus 6 is 6. Now I'm going to clear this coefficient, right? 3 times r. The inverse of multiplying is dividing, so I'm going to divide both sides by this exact number, which happens to be a positive 3. These reduce to 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1, but I'm going to leave that 1 invisible and simply write my solution. Alright, so let's try this again with a negative number. So locate my variable, write the opposite of my constant, cancel out my inverses, and rewrite my question. Negative 21 and negative 3 makes negative 24, right? Same signs, add together. So now my coefficient here is multiplied by 6, so the inverses divide by 6. And that gives me a negative 4. Alright, let's take a look at number 3. This one looks a little different. So x divided by 7 plus 5 is equal to 10 is what it says. So I need to do the opposite of adding 5, and I need to do the opposite of dividing by 7. So I'm going to clear my constant first, cross off my inverses, rewrite my question, and I'm going to clear my coefficient. The inverse of dividing by 7 is multiplying by 7. And that gives me a 35. Alright, I'm going to quickly go through number 4 here. Rewrite my question. Clear my coefficient. And this time, since the coefficient is negative 9, I'm actually going to divide by a negative 9. Remember, the coefficient stays the same, you just change the operation. W is equal to negative 2. Okay, last one in this first section. Locate the variable, clear the constant, rewrite the problem, and this time the coefficient is a fraction. So technically, yes, you would clear timesing by 2/3 by dividing by 2/3, but you can't actually divide by a fraction. So instead of dividing, we're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is the flip of this fraction, right? We're going to flip that fraction over, and we're going to reduce this to 1, and over here we're going to multiply. You only multiply the 10 by the numerator, that's it. 10 times 3 is 30, 30 divided by 2 is 15. And that is how you clear a coefficient that is a fraction. Let's take a look at the second box for Tuesday. I think I'm going to solve number 6, number 7, definitely number 9, and maybe number 10. Alright, so number 6. The variable's on the right-hand side this time, and the constant comes after it here, so I'm going to add 8 to both sides. I'm going to rewrite this. 9 equals 1/4 x. Again, if your coefficient is a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal, so flip that fraction over. Okay, number 7. The variable's on the left. The constant here is 12. Now, don't make this mistake that a lot of kids make. See that minus sign? It does not belong to the 12. It belongs to the w. Right? It's subtracting w divided by 3. It's not subtracting 12. So the 12 has a sign in front of it, but since you can't see it, you have to know that it's an invisible positive sign. So the minus sign does not belong to the 12. So remember that. Signs can never come after you. So now I'm going to take this minus sign, I'm going to bring it down here with my fraction. 15 minus 12 is 3. Now I need to clear this dividing by 3. I also need to clear this negative sign. So I'm going to take that negative sign and I'm actually going to move it down here to be with the 3. And by moving it down here with the 3, when I multiply by the reciprocal, which is negative 3 over 1, right? Negative 3 over 1, or multiply by negative 3, I will clear that negative sign as well. And that gives me negative 9 as my final answer. Alright, let's take a look at these next two, which look a little different. Now let's see here. The variable's on the left, but see this a minus 5? See my constant here, minus 5? If it's located inside of a fraction, you cannot add 5 to both sides. Because if he's part of a fraction, you have to break that fraction up first. So in order to break it up, I need to get rid of this dividing by 6. I need to get rid of that dividing by 6. So in order to do that, I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. Now, my numerator is free to do with as we please. So now I can add 5 to both sides. Remember, if your constant is in the numerator, you've got to get rid of the denominator. You can't do any math if it's included in the fraction. Okay, last one here. Here's the variable, there's the constant, and that does not belong to 14, right? This belongs to the w. So my 14 is actually an invisible positive, so I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides. Bring down my negative 2/5, and looks like I'm going to get a negative 32 here. So my coefficient is a fraction, so I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, negative 5/2, negative 5/2, and now I'm going to turn my calculator on and give this a go here. So it looks like I have here negative 32 times negative 5/2. So negative 32 times negative 5 fraction button 2, negative 5/2. There we go. So W is equal to positive 80, right? Two negatives make a positive, that makes sense. And these are inverses. Alright, let's take a look at this last section. Now I'm not going to solve all of these, but I think I'll start with 12. Maybe I'll do 15. And maybe I'll do 16. Alright, let's give these a go. So locate my variable, clear my constant, which happens to be a decimal number this time. So negative 1.2x equals, so let's use our calculator, clear this last problem out. So 6.38 minus 3.5, 2.88. And now I'm going to divide both sides by my coefficient. Now, what should I do with my calculator here? Now, instead of clearing it and then typing the 2.88 again, 2.88 divided by negative 1.2, I'm just going to press this division sign. Look what happens. See right there, ANS? That stands for the previous answer. So my calculator is going to take that previous answer, without me having to retype it, and divide it by negative 1.2. And there you have it. X is equal to negative 2.4. Awesome, and I didn't even have to type that over again. Alright, let's take a look at number 15. Here's the variable, there's the constant, so I'm going to clear that first, and I get 2/3 f equals negative 9. And now, if your coefficient is a fraction, you've got to flip it over, right? Multiply by the reciprocal. So f is equal to, looks like negative 9 times 3 is negative 27. Negative 27 divided by 2 is not a whole number, so I could leave it like this if I'd want to, or I could actually do the math of negative 27 divided by 2 and get my decimal, negative 13.5. So either one of these answers would be acceptable. Alright, let's take a look at number 16. Locate the variable, clear the constant, rewrite the problem, and this one is a simple one, but the answer, not so pretty. So if you're doing the math, 3 divided by 9, and you get that really long answer, please don't put it in decimal form. Don't use a repeating bar. Don't write out all these 3's. Just leave it as 3 over 9, or you can reduce it to 1/3, which would be the even better answer. But please don't write it in decimal form unless it is a terminating decimal. All right, that's it. Well, maybe I'll give 13 a try. Here's the variable. There's the constant. Remember, this sign does not belong to 3. So subtract 3. This minus sign belongs to the x over 2, right? Negative 17. And so I'm going to give this negative sign to the 2. I'm going to treat that as a negative 2. I'm going to multiply by negative 2 because that's the opposite of dividing, right? So now I get negative 17 times negative 2, which is positive 34. Okay, that should be enough to get you going on these 3 sections of your homework. The last section is a fast facts review. Don't forget to give that a shot as well. Okay, good luck.